continuing our discussion about food chains and food webs, and we're going to turn on our papers to the section that says consumers. And the first thing we're going to write is about decomposers. And decomposers are made up of things like mushrooms and bacteria and fungi and all kinds of different animals that are going to break down living organisms. But they use the things that are dead, that were once alive, and that is their food. So the next thing we're going to write down is omnivores. And who can tell me what an omnivore is? What's an omnivore? Yes?
It eats both meat and plants.
Very good. So an omnivore eats both plants and animals. And I'm going to go ahead and put like meat in parentheses because I want you to think about we eat things, but we don't necessarily think of them as like animals. We think of them as like our dinner. We don't put the chicken on, it's not an animal when we see it, but it's meat. So omnivores, they eat both plants and animals. And what is the name of an animal that only eats meat?
Carnivore.
Carnivore. I started to write it down before I asked you. Carnivore. So, carnivores eat only meat slash animals.
The green unicorn is a carnivore.
It's a carnivore. Yeah, a lot of your animals that you were researching might be carnivores if they only eat animals.
What is the biggest?
Remember, we're raising our hands for permission to speak. Yes.
Mine's a herbivore, I think.
Herbivore. Okay, does it only eat plants? So the last one we're going to write down is the herbivore. And the H is actually silent. So an herbivore. And they eat only plants. So when we think about it as people, an herbivore is kind of the same name as a vegetarian. They don't eat anything to do with animals. So deer would be an example of an herbivore.
So good.
Not eating it.
I want it now.
So make sure you're raising your hand, please. So these are the things under consumers that we're going to write on that piece of paper. Did you have a question? Okay, so now you're going to rotate your paper, and we're going to write in the section that says producers. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate. Did everybody get a chance to write that down? Okay. Yeah, you're going to have to rotate your paper a little bit. So I'm going to give you a minute to write that down, and then I'm going to move the screen on the computer, and I'm going to rotate it so you can then write down where it says producers. So keep writing until we're ready.
What did you say, producers?
Anybody else finish the consumer? Anyone still writing?
Miss Good.
Yeah.
If you touch the sun, would you die?
Yeah.
I want to touch the sun.
All right, remember we're focused on our current learning right now. That is fascinating, but that's not what we're currently learning right now. Okay, so look on your paper where it says producers. Producers. So producers use energy from the uses energy from the sun through what? What is that process we learned in our very first chapter?
Photosynthesis.
Very good. Photosynthesis. And when they use that energy from the sun, where do they put it? This is this next part, and they blank it, which means they put it away for later use. They store it, yep. So producers use energy from the sun through photosynthesis and store it. Did you get the chance to write that down? All right, I'm going to rotate. turn to the page that has the eagle. Does everybody see the page with the eagle?
There's 2 pages with an eagle.
Well, the same page. So you're going to turn that page over so you see the page with the eagle. Yep.
Yeah, the one with the giant eagle. The one
On the back of the food chain.
Or in the barn. Is this one? Yes. Oh, there's the pink one. Yeah. Here, I got you colored this one. Perfect.
Okay, did everybody see, does everybody have it open to this page?
Yes.
Okay, so this is where we're gonna start. Where are we gonna start?
Up top.
Up top.
In the sun.
The blank is the source of all blank is the sun. So this one is source of all the energy. Now you need to keep your art supplies quiet right now. We've had a whole day of coloring. Okay, the next thing I want you to write down here is blank in the form of, if we have the source of all energy is the sun, what is this going to be here? Energy in the form of, what is the form of when it comes down to these things down here? It's in the form of, no, not gas.
Air?
No. What makes plants grow? Sunlight. Sunlight. Nope, sunlight. Because it's important to know that the sunlight is what makes these things grow. So down here on the bottom, I want you to write the word energy. Does everybody see the word energy?
Okay.
And when we look up here on the top, the arrows in the food chain represent the flow of energy. This word energy is going to be used over and over and over. It's the flow of energy. This food chain shows the sun is the first part. Gives energy to the what? Grass. Plants. Yeah, plants could be one because that's the green part down on the bottom. And then the grass feeds the mouse. Mouse. Decomposers don't usually eat grass unless it's dead grass, but they could. And so when we move on to this side, the grass gives energy to the mouse. And the mouse gives energy to the eagle. How could the mouse give energy to the eagle give energy to the sun?
The eagle can feed it.
So let's trace where we're going here. Did you have a question, Emily?
No.
Okay, so let's trace where our energy is flowing here. So if we go down here and we figure out every time we have an arrow, I want you to write the word energy. I want you to write energy for everything that's there. This is an eagle.
Why does the eagle want 2 mouses or mice?
Because he's hungry.
Wait, is he holding one?
He is a carnivore because he only eats meat. We're going to label him a carnivore. The mouse down here, we're going to give him his name. He's the mouse. And he is an herbivore. And so we know that he eats grasses and plants. The grass is called starts with the letter P. It's not a plant, but it is a producer. And why is it called a producer? Because producers make their own food. So this is grass. What's this little guy down here called?
A worm.
A worm. And so when we talk about decomposers eat, no, they eat dead organisms. is on the same page as the previous page, so you can always flip your page over and look at the back page. Decomposers eat dead plants and organisms. So looking at where our energy flows, there's more than one mouse here.
I know there's two.
There's another mouse here.
And the eagle's hand.
So we have the source of all energy is the sun. Energy in the form of sunlight goes down to the grass and it feeds the grass and the producers make their own food. They're the only thing on this whole thing that makes its own food. But the eagle and the mouse still get its energy from the sun because they're eating the food that was produced with sunlight. So the sun, the grass, the mouse, the arrows in the food chain represent the flow of energy. So it goes to the grass, which then goes to the mouse, which then goes to the eagle. And then once the dead carcasses or the organisms die, the decomposers take over. And they eat anything that the eagle or the mouse didn't eat that's dead. So they talk about the thing like probably not bones, but they do eat all the meat off of bones. Yes?
I just thought of this. If the mouse eats the grass, then the eagle eats the grass too, because the eagle eats the mouse, and then the mouse stomach eats the grass.
You're absolutely right. And so if you have a hamburger, you're still eating grass because your cow that made the hamburger ate grass. So the same thing.
And there's also leaves in it.
Raising our hands. We're not shouting out. So the eagle eats the mouse that ate the grass. So even though the eagle's not eating the grass, he's eating the mouse, so he's still eating it. It's a constant flow of energy. Yes?
My real question is, then why didn't he on the board?
Because
Because he eats the grass.
he technically did not eat the grass. So he
The mouse
technically
ate the
did
grass.
not. The mouse
ate
did.
the mouse.
Yes. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk you through folding that piece of paper, and it's through a video. So I need you to listen really carefully and be very open-minded and have a very bubblegum type brain, because when you have to fold things, I notice that sometimes students get frustrated. And it's okay to get frustrated, you'll be fine. So I'm going to walk you through this next part of folding.
If I get frustrated,